All right, and welcome to another episode of the Author Spotlight. This is Rob YB Youngblood, your president of sales for Self-Publishing 30 Days, and your LinkedIn locksmith, coming at you with Kathryn Carter. Kathryn is someone that I was able to connect with through Clubhouse, and then we was able to do some work together. She came on our LinkedIn for Authors event, and so we're just excited about being able to see her grow as an author. So Kathryn, welcome to the Author Spotlight. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I am well. Thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting.
I love it. I love the fact that you're in your brand colors. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and start with where you're from? Give us your hometown, and then tell us a little bit about your backstory to include your brand colors.
Okay, so I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I am a proud product of the Newark public school system, which is a big part of why I wrote my books. So I just really love writing for children because I've been a school teacher for many years. I wanted to bring some joyful books to children so that they can see themselves, understand some historical background, and just learn to love to read. As I say, I'm a proud product of Newark Public Schools. I went to Arts High School. I played the viola, and proud product of an HBCU. For my undergrad, I went to Johnson C. Smith University, right here in North Carolina, and I did just the opposite for graduate school. I went to Kutztown State University out in Dutch country in Pennsylvania.
Wow, you've been a lot of different places. So started out in Brooklyn, transitioned to Newark, then down to Charlotte, and so you're currently in North Carolina now, correct?
I'm currently in North Carolina. I retired a few years ago, and I wanted to come back down here because I love it in North Carolina. I have lots of friends here. People always say, well, do you have family there? Well, I have friends who are like family.
Right.
Yeah.
So was it your transition to Johnson C. Smith that brought you down to Charlotte, or did you decide to relocate and then come back to Charlotte?
So after I finished Johnson C. Smith, I took off a year and taught basically substitute teaching for an entire year. And then I had a wonderful opportunity to get a fellowship to go to Kutztown, because at that time, they were really seeking students of color. And I was the only person in the whole School of Education. So you can imagine. Mm-hmm. And there were two other people in all the master's programs. The next year, a lifelong friend came, and she joined me in the education program. So after that, I went back to Jersey, did my career in the Orange Public Schools, Montclair Public Schools, and classroom teacher, reading specialist. And before I retired, I was the director for language arts and testing for my school district. So when I finished, I knew I wanted to come back to the South. Mm-hmm. So I put my plans together, and I was ready to come 6 years ago, but I had a health challenge, and it wasn't meant for me to come. God said, not yet. He didn't say no. He just said, not yet. Yes. So this past fall, I had the opportunity to come, and here I am.
Okay, well, I love it. I love it. So when I kicked off, I talked about you wearing your brand colors. Can you talk a little bit about the colors that you're wearing and the significance of it?
So I never really used to like yellow. All through my entire life, I was really not into yellow, but something about this color in my later years has touched my heart. And so I decided to use yellow. and black, and I threw in a little blue, even have a little purple. You can see Lizzie there in purple, but those colors just speak to my heart, and they're bright, they're encouraging, and it makes me happy. So I believe it makes kids happy.
I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit about your books. I know you have 2 books that you've written. But you have some others as well. So we'll get into that. But talk about the main books that you have there, and what prompted you to get started as an author.
Well, I have always been a writer. I loved school. I loved to write. I was a kid who rushed home after school and taught my dolls and toys what I had learned in school. So I've been writing for years. I have journals from so far back. When I go on to glory, my sons will find those journals. But I always wanted to make stories that make kids laugh. But I wanted to teach a lesson to them as well. So, and then my sons, who are now adults, when they were little, I couldn't find many books that have positive images of them that look like them. So I knew I was going to write. So that was my basis. And I decided to write about Newark, New Jersey, because I grew up there and I wanted to spell myths about Newark. Newark was a wonderful place to grow up. Yes, it was the city. People call it now Brick City. There was a lot going on, but I wanted to focus on this time in the 1960s and 70s. Summertime with Lizzie B. Hayes, there's Lizzie there, is about an 8-year-old girl, 3 generations of her colorful family, and the summer of the 1967 rebellion in Newark, New Jersey. Some call it rebellion, some people call it a riot, some people call it a revolution. Whatever your experience was. When I was little, we called it a riot. That's what my grandparents, that's what they said. But as you get older and you hear about all of the things that were going on in the city, people were revolting. So I want to teach about that time period, but I also want kids to know that even if you live with your extended family, like Lizzie did, she lived with her grandparents, her parents are divorced. As long as there's love in the family, you can be successful.
Right.
And kids are just kids. So that's book 1. And then book 2 is Lizzie B. Hayes and the Great Camp Caper. So now she's 10. She's off to Girl Scout camp, and she has to learn how to navigate camp life, take care of herself and her belongings, and deal with a bully in the cabin with her, Coco.
Wow.
And she and Coco get lost on an overnight hike. So, and then I also bring in aspects of not only learning how to take care of yourself, how to get along with others, and what is it that's going on in kids' lives that cause them to become a bully. Kids are not just born mean.
Yeah.
Things happen in their lives. So I address some of those issues in the book. And currently I'm working on book 3, which I'm still working on a title. Lizzie's now in junior high school. It's 1970. The first African-American mayor has been elected in Newark. She's involved with that. And she's in 7th grade, and you know, all of what goes on when you're 12 and you're in the 7th grade.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. As I'm listening to you talk about Lizzie, I think about my daughter, who at the time of this recording, today's her birthday, right? So she just turned 12. And so my wife said this is her last year on the clock. Because if you think about it, after 12 is 13, so she's off the clock. But I love the fact that
that's right.
Such a, you have your story is tied to a historical moment. It's not like it's all, fiction, right? It's tied to a historical moment. Talk a little bit about what did you have to overcome? Was there any challenges that you had to overcome in putting these books together?
So the biggest challenge that I had to overcome was being a full-time mother at the wife. At the time, I was a full-time wife.
Mhm.
I was a full-time classroom teacher.
Mhm.
And that's a lot going on. And so I wrote the first book, one summer. I wrote it out in longhand in a composition book. And I had every intention of publishing it. But at that time, my kids were still fairly young.
Mhm.
And when you are raising boys in a predominantly white school district at that time, Montclair was in a transition phase, and you have to be really on it. And I was one of those parents who was on it.
Yeah, that's good.
And I had my own classroom that I had to deal with.
Yeah.
So it took a while. It was just time.
Yeah.
Finally, when the youngest one was in high school, I said, okay, either you're going to get these books done or stop talking about it.
So how long?
So
how long did it take for you to get your books completed? I mean, was it like something that happened in a couple months, couple years? Like how long?
Once I got serious, well, from the very beginning, it took almost 15 years because I was dealing with raising and dealing. I marvel at these young women now who are able to do all of that. But my time was a different time. There were different expectations for women that I think you might understand.
Yeah.
Back in that, you had, it was different.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. That was my life and I loved it. But once I got serious, it took me a few months to get the first one done.
Yeah, and I wanted you to be able to share that because we have listeners who are aspiring authors. And what I want them to recognize is that no matter what your challenge is, there are people who are, it may take them 15 years, but they're able to overcome that challenge to get the book done. And so you're a testament of that. And your message is going to resonate with some people, especially those who are educators. We're in a time now where, teachers are tired, saying they're getting burned out because of everything that's going on, from the pandemic to the administration not really, just supporting them and putting so much. And then let's not even talk about the students and parents, right? So what you present is hope for educators who may at one point in time only think that all they could do is just teach, when in actuality you could take that skill and turn it into a book, which now you've launched a new business. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely. I am so what's the word? I'm very aware of what you described. Our young teachers, they need hope. They need hope, and our young writers, and even writers in my age group, because I'm always looking to connect with people. You need a tribe around you, a group of like-minded people who can support you along your journey.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I appreciate you even saying like women of your generation, because it's never too late to become an author.
Never
Too late. Never too late. Obviously, I have a vantage point being in a publishing company, but just from understanding that the wealthiest place on the planet is not the bank, right? It's not Fort Knox. It's not even the diamond mines in South Africa. It's the grave, because people take the gems and they take the gems and the knowledge and the information that could impact so many people, and they take it to the grave with them, and it just makes the deposit of the soil that they're in richer, because that it won't ever go anyplace. So what you're doing is you're offering an opportunity for people to see that, hey, this is definitely possible. Who is your book for, and how can people get a hold of your books?
So my books are for children who are getting into chapter books, ages 8 to 12. I really don't like to put a grade level on it, but I say within that 8 to 12 age level, they will endure. I have had experience with them enjoying it the most. And those are the kids that I write for, because I have a real heart for fourth graders. That was the grade that I taught the longest.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's who my books are for. I'm starting to spread my wings and start to write YA, because I want Lizzie to grow up.
Yeah.
So that means I have to get my skills to keep them sharp.
Yeah.
So that, because it's different writing for ages 8 to 12.
Yeah.
And kids in that YA, because they have different interests.
Yeah, that's right.
But
that's
the
right.
thing about it is I've been those ages.
Yeah.
So all of that is in my mind. I can,
Yeah.
you know, you go up in age numbers, but your mind is, you can go back.
You can go back.
So,
yeah. Your mind becomes a time machine. It'll take you back to your younger self, and you tap into that. And I think that's wise. So as we begin to land the plane, Kathryn, talk a little bit about, you know, what kind of impact has the book had now that it's out, now that it's done, right? Your journey, 15 years to get it done. You finally, you know, got it out there. What kind of impact are you seeing? You know, what's maybe one or two success stories that you can share about the impact that your book is having on the marketplace?
So a couple of things. I have had parents to thank me, just really thank me profusely. I guess that's the word I can use, because they didn't have the words to explain to their child what that 1967 event in Newark, New Jersey was like.
Right.
And my book helped them. They use it as a vehicle to explain it to their child.
Mm.
And that really touched my heart, that they were able to see it that way and use it for that purpose. Yeah. And kids, not just kids of color, all kids love the story, because Lizzie is just a funny little girl. She's got a male cousin, Mookie, and a female cousin, Shushu. Lizzie is the youngest. And those three characters, they have a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. So kids love them. And it's stories, of course, about Black children, but all kids can see fun and learn about other cultures in my stories. And they have said that to me. Teachers have used it in their classrooms to support their social studies work, because there is not a lot taught about that incident in social studies books. Right. So it helps them to bridge that gap, because you hear so many rumors about what happened, that the people were just running around starting fire, but there's no background about what really precipitated all of that. Right. So I talk about that, and then I have some activities and discussion guides to help children to do research and find out more about that time period, and look at the similarities between what was going on then and the things that are going on now. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm really excited because I'm getting ready to relaunch them. The anniversary of these books is in June, and I'm relaunching because I've learned so much since they came out. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, kudos to you, Kathryn, and thank you so much for joining us. Where can people get a copy or get copies of your book? So my books are available on my website at kpcarterwrites.com. That's WRITES.com. You can get signed copies. Of course, they are on Amazon and Books A Million and Kobo, and because the book is in print and digital formats. Wonderful. So you can get them. And I also offer parent workshops to help parents understand how to support their child at home. I offer a program called 10 Steps to Reading Success. The parent workshop, I do it virtually, and I'm starting to inch out and do things in person, just to let parents know you can help your child at home. It's not all on the school's shoulders once your child gets there. Right. Parents are the first teachers. So I take them through step-by-step guides of what they can do to build joyful readers. That's what we want. We want our kids to learn to love to read.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And you're phenomenal for that. Your energy and your attitude is tremendous. So thank you so much for, you know, what you're doing to empower our young people. And then eventually I look forward to seeing Lizzie grow up into a teenager and then a young woman. So that's a journey that I definitely look forward to. Any last words that you want to share with our listeners? Anything that's on your heart that can empower maybe that teacher or that aspiring author, or even that mom that's you know, looking at her children and have aspirations? Any last words that's on your heart?
So I would say for teachers, look for good literature to support what you are using because you have to supplement the curriculum in the school. Look for real books to help children see, oh, reading is not just a chore, and it's not just read the passage and answer the questions.
Yeah.
I would challenge teachers to do that. And parents, read with your child. If there's nothing else that you do, read with them and be a good reading role model.
Yeah.
Take time, make time. I know it's difficult. It was hard for me. And there are so many more demands now, but it is imperative that you do it.
Yeah.
Those are my parting words.
I love it. I appreciate that. And I do have one last question.
Authors,
yeah.
I just want to tell authors,
yeah,
kids are waiting to read your story. So get to it.
Say it again. Say it one more time.
Kids are waiting to read your story. So get to it.
I love it. I love it. Last question for you, Kathryn. If there was any place in the world that you can travel to complete your next book or your fourth book, where would you go if we were paying for it? If we was paying for your trip to go anywhere in the world to finish your next book, where would you go?
Oh, I would definitely go to Africa. I'd pick a country. I'd pick a country that's not having a lot of strife at the moment, but that's where I want to go. I've never had the opportunity. I would love to go.
Love it. Love
So
it.
you're paying for it?
Yeah, I'm saying, I asked that question. It's more of a dream builder than anything. You never know. You never know. But Kathryn, you have been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to the great things that you're doing. For those of you who are watching and listening, if you're on LinkedIn, make sure you go check Kathryn out on LinkedIn. She's doing some tremendous work there, as well as on Instagram. So just continue to support her. And for those of you who are new to this channel, new to this podcast, just be encouraged, be blessed, but most of all, be faithful over the gift that you've been given. Why? Because the gift will make room for you, and there's somebody else that's dependent on you to operate in your gift. So we'll see you at the next episode of the Author Spotlight. Peace.